My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. In this video, I want to talk to you about the very complicated subject of soil structure. Now, there's a lot of backstory about soil structure, what it is and how it works, but hopefully at the end of this video, you'll have a really good understanding of what you can do to improve soil structure reliably so that your plants thrive. Let's get to it. The best analogy I can come up with when talking about soil structure is to compare it to bread. Now, bread has got a bunch of ingredients, and when they are cooked in a certain way, we get the bread that we eat on a regular basis. But what is so special here is this pore structure. You can see that we've got different sized holes. This is ciabatta bread with bigger pockets, but you can see that we've got this oxygen, this network of pockets and interconnected channels and tunnels, and that makes it spongy. We can press it and it will come back. This is where I think it gets really important. At some point, you can compress it so much that it's lost its characteristics. That porosity that it had is now no longer apparent. And this is what happens when soil gets compacted. It may have had some characteristics at some point, but now it can no longer hold water, hold nutrients, and hold oxygen. So compacted soil is just like a loaf of bread. Porous and useful, compacted and very unappetizing. Now, the first thing is soil amendments. And many people are of the opinion that if you add certain amendments to certain soil structures, you improve it. And this is true. What I have in front of me are 4 common amendments, well, relatively common, and each of them has got different attributes. Now, sand is a very common additive. If you've got heavy clay soils and you can mix sand with it, you will open up the porosity, make it drain, and increase the pore size. The downside with sand is it's very heavy, and you need to add an awful lot of it to make a difference. It has its place. It's a little bit old-fashioned. If you are growing plants in pots and you want to make a really open mix, then you could absolutely do 10-20% of this with a potting mix, and that would help open it up and also give you a much more free draining environment. So sand has its place. It's not the cure-all that you might think. Next we have leaves. Now, I'm a big advocate of leaves. I think that they are nature's blanket. I cover my garden in the fall with layers of leaves, and I just let them stay there throughout the winter. The problem with leaves is that they can blow away, so you might put down a nice big pile, and if they're in a windy environment, they will blow away. They are also quite slow to break down, so it may be that you've got a layer of leaves next springtime in your garden that you're not sure what to do with. If you have a reliable source of leaves in the fall, it's a really good idea to put a layer on your garden, maybe 2 inches deep, and then just gently turn it over so that the soil is mixed in with these leaves. And that will increase the rate of which it decomposes, which is beneficial to the soil profile. And this next one is peat moss. Very old-fashioned. There's definitely a movement against using this in your garden, as it's a natural resource and it gets harvested and transported many hundreds of miles for you to spread it on your garden. If you add this to your garden and you sprinkle it on the surface, it looks nice, it looks neat, but it doesn't take much of a wind for this to blow away. You can see it here being carried away. So this absolutely must be dug in and worked into your soil. You need to bury it and blend it, and then microorganisms, worms in particular, will then pass through the soil and will help decompose this organic matter. Something to think about with peat moss is if it's a thick layer and it gets wet, it can be cold and damp for many weeks in the winter, and that's detrimental to plant growth. You can get rot build up around the crown of certain plants. And finally, we have a magical elixir, and that is seaweed. Now, I'm mindful that not everybody's got access to this stuff. There are various bagged products you can buy with a seaweed extract or a seaweed content. Now, I've added this to my garden over the years and it's had a profound effect. What is in seaweed is a product called alginate. And alginate is a wonderful soil-building compound that helps bind particles together without compaction. Very, very important. Is one of these four here better than the others? No. Is one of these four worse than the others? No. They all have their place. And if you were to have a mix of these in your soil profile, all four of them would bring a different level of assistance to establishing a good soil profile. I do want to make the point that you can't change your soil structure just by adding amendments like we have here. And let me put it another way. If you'd never been to the gym for, say, 2 years and you bought a gym membership, and then you went to the gym on day one and you did 5 hours in that gym, that's 5 hours of training, and you would think that that would have a profound effect. Chances are that you wouldn't be able to walk the next day, and for quite a few days you'd be very painful and very sore. Not a good way to do it. Now, if you joined a gym and you did half an hour every week for 10 weeks, that would have a much better effect at transforming you into this improved, healthier version of you. Well, that's a bit like soil profile. You can't go out once and do one thing a lot and expect it to have a profound effect. It doesn't work that way. It's an ongoing and constant process. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. You need to add to your soil to help it improve its structure. Some years ago, I added seaweed to this garden that I'm sat in now. It was 3 inches deep, and I put it over the entire area. It's all degraded, it's all been absorbed into the soil, releasing its nutrients and improving microbial and beneficial bugs so they can work better. But then in recent years, I've been adding this. I've been adding leaves in the fall. So the two combined give me a degree of complexity that is very, very beneficial. The two together are good. I've stopped using peat moss, so that doesn't get added into my garden. And I don't need to add sand because I have really good soil structure. So what I want you to take away from this right now is that amendments don't necessarily improve structure. They can help, but it takes time for that to happen. So now I want to share with you some of the things I do that actually do improve soil structure. That is the porosity of the soil and the ability for it to store oxygen, store water, store nutrients, and have active beneficial bugs and bacteria. Let's get to it. Good soil structure is like fine wine. You make it and then you have to wait for it to ferment and become mature and then become the wine that you want. And that's the same with soil. You can't add a bag of soil structure. There's some practices you can do that will make a difference. And one of them is leaving roots intact in the soil profile. Now, this is a plant called Certifica. It's an annual, it's going to die, and it's very tempting to grab hold of the plant and pull it, roots and all. You don't need to do that. Just cut the plant off, leave the roots intact, and in time, those roots will decompose, and you'll have a whole series of channels, interconnected highway that can carry water and nutrients into the soil profile. So that's a Certifica. This is a plant called Nicotiana, and I'm just taking big branches of this annual, cutting it off at ground level, and I'm done. And I'm not walking on the bed to any high degree. I might get in there with one footfall and cut 2 or 3 branches and then put them in the back of my truck. Landscapers will come along and they'll pull out all the roots, shake soil everywhere, stand on the bed, and all the time compacting it and not leaving in that very important component that will help with the soil profile. So these are things that you can do that are really easy, time-saving, efficient, and very, very productive. This is October, and everything I'm doing over the next 6 weeks is so that next spring, when next spring arrives, I'm ahead of the game. So do bear that in mind. Your timing of your projects is not to solve a problem now, it's to support a solution in months to come. So what I want to do is empty this bed of the annual plants that I've got there, leave the roots intact in the ground. They will stay in the ground all winter and gradually decompose. 2 weeks from now, I've got some perennial plants from other parts of my garden that I want to put in this border, and I'll get those planted. And then once we get into early November, maybe mid-November, the whole garden will have a layer of leaves put over it. And all of that is so that next spring, I've done things that support improving the soil structure of my garden. Let me put it this way. If you fast forward to next March, my garden has had months of the soil structure being improved with worm activity, biological activity. The layer of leaves will keep it warmer, which means it can decompose. Everything about it is working for me in the depths of the winter. And this is the habit that I want to get you to adopt, is doing what supports plant growth. Now you can come out in May, you can spend money, you can have a contractor come in, and they can transform the way that it looks. But I guarantee you, none of them will be able to supply you with a bag of soil structure. You just can't do it. It's practices that support plant structure, and once you have soil structure to absorb and hold water, nutrients, and oxygen, your plants will thrive.